Right, let's go over now to Parliament, the floor of Parliament, where there's a debate underway, and listening.
The ayes have it. The motion is carried. We now proceed to item 7. Motion that this Honourable House adopts the second report of the Appointment Committee Honourable members, what I have as item 7 is what I am reading. And so if there is an error, then I am not talking about what is on your order paper. I'm talking about what is on the order paper before me. And so if it is in error, I've just told the table office, they said yes, it's in error, it's first report. But what is on my paper is second report. So I go over it that this Honourable House adopt the first report of the Appointment Committee on the present nominations for ministerial appointments. Chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker, I rise to move that this House adopts the first report of the Appointments Committee on the President's nominees for ministerial appointments. In so doing, Mr. Speaker, I present the committee's report. The Speaker, I'll just refer to the headlines and I'll ask them to capture the title. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Article 78(1) and 256 of the Constitution of Ghana, His Excellency the President, on 22nd January, presented to the House a list of persons to be considered by the House for appointments to various positions. The Speaker graciously referred the matter to the Appointments Committee to consider and report. The Speaker, the report is contained in the report laid yesterday and it covers 144 pages. The Speaker, the committee went through the motions, had so presented, advertised in the newspapers of national circulation, and invited members for memoranda on the nominees. The Speaker, the committee have gone through, have considered the nomination of Mr. Albert Kandapah, the National Security, Honorable Dominic Nitiwu as Defense Minister, Honorable Shelley Ayoko-Botwe, Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Honorable Dr. Yao Osei-Adichum for Education, Honorable Osei Chairman Sabonsu for Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh for Energy, Honorable Daniel Botwe, Local Government Decentralization and Rural Development, Honorable Ambrose Derry for Interior, Honorable Ignatius Bafo-Owuah, Employment, Labour Relations, Honorable Sarah Adjoa-Safo for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Honorable Dr. Osefri Akoto, Food and Agriculture, Honorable Mavis Howard-Kumson, Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Honorable Kwejo Opon-Nkrumah for Information. Mr. Speaker, after due consideration, taking cognizance of the provisions of the 1992 Constitution, the standing orders of the committee, and the CV of the nominees, members ask questions ranging from anything relating to their qualification. Members considered whether they had anything in their CV that disqualifies them or any other information that would make them unqualified to be ministers of state. And after due consideration, the first 10 were recommended to the House to be adopted, recommended to the House to be adopted by consensus, where the last 3 are recommended to be adopted by the House by majority. Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, the Honorable Kandapa, Minister for National Security, Honorable Initiwu Dominic, Minister for Defense, Honorable Shelayo Kobuchi for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Dr. Osei Yao Osei Aduchum for Education, Honorable Osei Chairman Sabonsu for Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Dr. Puku Prempe for Energy, Honorable Daniel Boche for Local Government Decentralization, Honorable Ambrose Derry for Interior, Honorable Ignatius Bafuwa, Employment, Labor Relations, Honorable Sarah Adjoasa for Gender, Children and Social Protection, were by consensus recommended to the House for approval. On the other hand, Honorable Dr. Ose Friakoto, Honorable Mavis Hawakumsen, and Honorable Kojo Ponkroma were recommended by me for the House to the House for consideration. Mr. Speaker, I present the report for the House. I thank you.
All right, so that's live proceedings from the floor of Parliament. We're going over to correspondent Kwesi Parker-Wilson to bring us up to speed on exactly what's been happening, because we're learning that the House is to adopt the first report of the Appointments Committee. And as you heard, let's just go back to the Speaker.
Honorable members, we have 10 of them recommended by consensus.
Right, so what's actually happening right now in Parliament? Kwesi Parker-Wilson joins me on the phone line now to explain to us. Hello, Parker. So we're learning that the House, the first report of the Appointments Committee has been presented. You tell us.
So after the head count, it emerged that the minority won by 137 votes, while the minority obtained 125 votes. So it was clear that the majority had won the head count and that the Speaker endorsed their position to debate the report from the Appointment Committee tonight. So they have started. In fact, just a while ago, the Speaker was asking the members of the House, the leadership, the minority leader and the majority leader, on how many of their members should he permit to debate on the report. So they are now deciding how many of them should be allowed to debate on the report. So as it stands, Parliament is now officially debating the first report of the Appointment Committee, which contains 13 nominees. And we understand that 10 of them were by consensus, whilst the other 3, Kojo Ponkroma, Ose Friakoto, and Mavis Hawakumsen, were by majority decision. And we do understand that the majority decision is largely based on the majority MP on the Appointment Committee from the NPP, and not a collective decision by the members of the committee who decided to vote in favor of the nominees.
All right, so we're returning to proceed. Let's listen in. The Speaker of Parliament is on the floor at the moment.
Honorable Dominic. Yes, a minute, yes.
You asked for an indication from us, leadership, about the number of contributors. And I indicated that the motion shall have to be seconded first, which is what I did earlier. So now we should give you the indication of the numbers for contribution. Speaker, I was having some...
Honorable Majority Leader, I'll come to that. I will come to that. He was on his feet. So I wanted to hear from him why he was on his feet. It's not that he started the debate. I just want to hear why he was on his feet. Yes, Honorable Dominic Ayine.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm rising on the basis of a preliminary issue relating to Order 171 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. And in particular, Mr. Speaker, I am relying on Order 171, Sub-Order 4. No, sorry. Mr. Speaker, I made a wrong reference. It's 172 of the Standing Orders, and Sub-Order 4. Mr. Speaker, Sub-Order 4 is to the effect that the committee shall report to Parliament within 3 days after it has concluded its proceedings when Parliament is sitting. Parliamentary approval of persons recommended for appointment shall be by secret ballot or by consensus. Mr. Speaker, your chairman's report says that the committee has recommended the adoption of the retained ministers by consensus, and in respect of the 3 of them by secret ballot or majority, that is majority voting. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the aisle, the question of consensus is now off the table. It is off the table. It is off the table because from the inception of this process, from the inception of this process, there has been no consensus or cooperation in respect of the preliminary decision that we had to take. And as a result of that, this side of the aisle does not accept the consensus-based approval of the 10 ministers. In that respect, Mr. Speaker, once there is disagreement, by necessary implication, there is no consensus. And therefore, in the circumstances in which we find ourselves, I am proposing that we vote on each of the nominees stated in the
Honorable Member, Honorable Dominic Ayine, are you a member of the Appointments Committee?
Mr. Speaker, I am not a member of the Appointments Committee. But Mr. Speaker, once the member,
please, we are going by procedure. When it gets to that issue you are raising, it will be clear, and it is the House that will take the decision.
Yes.
But you don't get up on the floor where a committee has deliberated on something and taking a decision at the committee level without any debate. An individual member gets up to say there was no consensus because this side of the House. That definitely is at the end of the debate. When the issues are raised and the House is given the opportunity to take the decision, then the House can disagree with the position taken by the committee. And so your submission has been misconceived. And please, let's proceed. Let me know how many will be making submissions on his side of the House? Please, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I wrote, but I couldn't catch your eye. And subsequently, I saw the Majority Leader in his rush to second the motion, even whilst I was whispering with him that we should do 5+1 because there's 10 nominees. So half of it, we have 5 members thoroughly debated. The leadership, indeed, it was my wish even to rise and second it, then make my comment, then yield the floor to other members so that I have no right to come back to it. Because, Mr. Speaker, the work that the chairman of the Appointments Committee have presented is our collective work, it's our common work. It's just to put you on notice that today we have people, so we have voted even on whether to proceed on a motion or not. Good precedent for the beginning, best practice for tomorrow, will hold people to it. So, Mr. Speaker, if you permitted me, I now can have an opportunity to contribute to the motion. Then 5+1, 6.
5 on each side, yes, of the divide.
5.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I think it's important to state that after the motion had been moved, there was no rush on my part. There was no rush. The minority leader was to second the motion. He rose up and then indicated that he was yielding to another person. And I was indicating to him that because the motion had been moved, it must be seconded first. Mr. Speaker, that is why I said in the second instance I was seconding the motion. There was no rush on my part. But Mr. Speaker, I was communicating with him on the number. I indicated to him that we could have 3 plus 1 in leadership to make 4. Mr. Speaker, I think that given where we are now, it's a reasonable number to deal with. So, Mr. Speaker, I am to the minority leader that we deal with 3 plus leadership to make 4.
Honorable members, we are taking our time to go through laborious process because the decision we are about to take is a very important decision. And we are doing our best to follow the best practices in the world. At the end of the day, we are setting precedents that we will have to follow tomorrow. And so I will support that 5 on each side of the House. If it means we'll sit here till 2 a.m., Mr. Speaker is prepared to preside till that time. But we have to take the decision. And so, Minority Leader, if you want to set the ball rolling, please, you may do so now.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to speak to the motion ably presented by the chairman of the Appointments Committee that this House recommends by consensus and where necessary by majority decision the present nominees as captured in part 4 of our report. And Mr. Speaker, in doing so, may I just refer to 3 nominees to set the tone. The Honorable Albert Kandapa, Minister National Security, the Honorable Dominic Netuwo, Minister for Defense, and the Honorable Ambrose Derry. I conceive of these ministers as ministers holding portfolios that has to do with public safety and public security. But Mr. Speaker, as captured in the report, and I refer you to page 7 of the report, and further to page 9, I'll read the headings for our purposes. Mr. Speaker, these three ministers, they owe people some duty. Which duty is that in the run-up to the December 7th election, we lost a number of Ghanaian citizens in Techima, in Kasua, in Savulgo, in Ablekuma. These ministers failed to act diligently to get these matters investigated and the perpetrators dealt with in accordance with law. Yet, they are before us for approval that we should put the responsibility of the security of the state and the security of Ghanaian citizens on their hand. So, Mr. Speaker, now page 16 of the report, paragraph Q. The nominee admitted to packets of election-related violence in various parts of the country during the just-ended general elections. Particular mention was made of incidents in Ododo Diodio, Techima South, Ablekuma Central, and others. Mr. Speaker, 7 persons lost their lives. We are demanding that investigation be done into the circumstances leading to those loss of life. Those are Ghanaian citizens, and where necessary, adequate compensation be paid to their families, because they are citizens who lost their life because of excessive conduct of the military, excessive conduct of the police against the letter and spirit of the law and what their mandate requires them to do. They failed us. And I hope as they go to the ministry, we will not see another failure. Another failure, that there will be another election where the military and police are unleashed on Ghanaian citizens, leading to loss of life. The cost of a ballot paper should not result in loss of life. We know that your determination was to turn our majority into your majority undeservedly, using the excessive force of the military. In many of those things you lost, and you were not ready to concede defeat and got them. Mr. Speaker, another matter that the 3 ministers, I want to hold them responsible and accountable to the Ghanaian people, is the sacrilege which happened on the floor of Parliament with military invasion of this House. And we were told against by various, led by Minister Kandapa, and Mr. Speaker, is captured in the committee's report when he stated that it was a commander who issued that order. Commander. Who is the commander-in-chief? At the time, who was the commander-in-chief? Who was that commander? Mr. Speaker, so the three ministers for national security, defense, and interior again failed us woefully when they had to invite the military to this chamber. It's never happened. It was more or less a coup d'etat on our democracy on the floor of Parliament. We do not find that acceptable, and we need assurances from them that this will never happen and happen in our democracy, where the parliamentary chamber is reduced to gallivanting soldiers, excited, invading Parliament. When has this happened before? And yet nobody is being punished for that. Mr. Speaker, the minister, when he met us, as I've said, I intend to deal with some aspects of it in order that I can comment on it. So to the 3 ministers that are being proposed for national security, defense, and interior, we are demanding answers to those lives that were lost on December 7. We are demanding an explanation as to what transpired on the floor of Parliament, the sacrilege which has become a blot on the conscience of Ghana's democracy under their watch. Mr. Speaker, the matter of an Accra Intelligence Traffic Monitoring System was spoken about. Interestingly, he and the Minister for Roads, who appeared subsequently, were speaking parallel. One said no work done, one says the matter is before arbitration. We will hold them responsible in the event of any judgment debt to the Republic because of their inability to allow for harmony and for thorough, diligent work in assessing this. There's a difference between traffic lights and traffic congestion management, and we should take note of that even as we go on. Interesting times, Mr. Speaker. Now that COVID numbers have increased, we are not seeing heavy military presence in the Volta region. But those days, just close to voter registration exercise, they found good excuse and said because of COVID. Saying the soldiers there, why are they not there? They must learn to treat Ghanaians with respect and with honor. When we are deploying them, the essence was to frustrate the NDC in its stronghold. It is not for nothing that in a democracy, elections must be free and fair, free from fear and free from intimidation. So when you say elections are free and fair, you cannot say that the compilation of the voter register, when you chose to intimidate, this political opposition in its stronghold provides a basis for the conduct of free and fair elections. We took objection to it, Mr. Speaker, but nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, we are assured by the Minister that he will deal with some matters relating to terrorism and other matters. Mr. Speaker, to the Honorable Dominic Nitiwo, apart from those disappointments, is in Ghana today. I grew up with him because he knows Sir Charles. He knows Duanai very well. It used not to be the case to see the military around and on the street every day, now gun wielding in uniform, taking over the civilian function of the Ghana Police Service. If it is a mark of lack of confidence on the Ghana Police Service, let us know. If you have reduced the police service and reduced army officers to the holding at premises somewhere, let us know. You are not dignifying the respected Ghana Armed Forces with the openness with which you have exposed them to the Ghanaian civilian system, as if to maintain civil order is now the primary responsibility of the armed forces. As I know it, and as I see it from the Constitution, obligation is territorial integrity. They can collaborate where the incidence of crime is high for purposes of our safety and others. He promised that he's doing some work on accommodation for soldiers. I'm all in with it for him. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, I even further suggested that the popular Sagrami housing project be completed. I hear some $181 million was invested in it. The Honorable Atachia will know better, or the Honorable Collins Dada. I share the view that government takes appropriate steps to complete the project and hand it over to the Ghana Armed Forces because they are in want of accommodation. And Mr. Speaker, we must respect Ghanaian citizens. You take taxpayers' money, $181 million. It is outstanding all these years to get it completed. Yet the armed forces and the police service are without houses. All the Minister for Works and Housing probably needed was for government to finance the uncompleted aspect of the project and bring it to finality. That was not done. It was about, we are not satisfied with it. Mr. Speaker, we are sure. Honorable Ambrose Derry, Mr. Speaker, the day the sacrilege happened, we saw some senior police officer here who also entered the chamber from far end. I'm wondering why he should not even be brought to Privileges Committee to explain the service. He was here. The other day, we were somewhere, he was insisting that we are in breach of law. He too is in breach of parliamentary privilege and must give us reason why he should not be hauled for those purposes. Mr. Speaker, it was the Honorable Ayoko Botry, Foreign Minister. She's doing her best, but our foreign service officials, they had this opportunity in the past where some duty vehicles, they brought one of it for purpose of their family when they were coming back. And I believe that it was subsequently cancelled. It has to be renewed. To Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Minister for Energy. Mr. Speaker, fortunately, he's a member of the Appointments Committee. So PDS, we saw a minister nominee take pride in the fact that I abrogated a fraudulent transaction. How he could have said that I failed in my diligence, resulting in fraud, resulting in termination, and I take responsibility for judgment if there is any. But Mr. Speaker, we are demanding. Some monies were paid to PDS. As we speak today, nobody knows the amount of money PDS took in the name of that concession agreement for and behalf of the people of Ghana. That cannot be right. So PDS, whatever money they take, ministers were evasive to report to us what the quantum of collection have been. They can't even use projections of ECG without PDS to tell us that this estimated amount is available. Where is the PDS money? We demand it. We demand it. How much of it? How much interest have accrued on it? We know that there will be judgment debt on PDS. The country has lost some $190 million from the United States Millennium Challenge Corporation as part of the concession. But what is important, Mr. Speaker, we have lost a unique opportunity to analyze ECG to allow for more efficiency in their operations. Yet, every day, there are losses. My brother and friend, the Honorable Nafo, you have a responsibility, rural electric. Your government have performed abysmally poor, from 82% only to 84% over the 4 years of President Nana Addo Dankwa. Do well to expand electricity to more rural areas, and do well to assure the people of Ghana the best access coverage to that. Mr. Speaker, our oil blocks must be done competitively and auctioned competitively to give us value for money. Mr. Speaker, I will still indulge you as I take to particularly the Upper East region. But Mr. Speaker, when you are Minister for Education, that's something called double track, green, left, right. It has resulted in some teenage pregnancies. He prides himself, sometimes with the president, of his flagship of Free Senior High School. Free Senior High School, not investment in literacy and numeracy, it must be investment in human capital. Sustaining it financially, posterity will be a better get. Mr. Speaker, as you indulge me, Honorable Dambo, very experienced politician from his Nooks days, now taking over the Ministry of Government, Decentralization and Rural Development. Our first expectation of him is for government to respect the Supreme Court ruling in the matter of Kodo, Ayeni and Richard Kashiga, where the Supreme Court took a monumental decision on what should constitute national revenue and its consequential distribution to affect regional coordinating councils, district coordinating councils, and in particular, the District Assembly Common Fund established under Article 252 of the Mr. Speaker. There are districts, sometimes, even fuel for police to control a particular crime situation or convey accident victim becomes a problem. Of assembly members, they didn't believe it. When President Mahama promised it, he was chastised, but he had to respond to it. And Mr. Speaker, this is what he had to say. As to whether assembly members should be paid monthly, the nominee indicated that the assembly members do not work full-time at the assembly, and many of them are already workers paid by the government. He noted that he will support an initiative that will support assembly men. how he does it, how it will be different from the NDC proposition, we will look into it. Mr. Speaker, he also looked at the Central Kofi Akpafu Lolobi Lipe matter. And Mr. Speaker, this is an important matter we should, as a House, look at. All of a sudden, 6th December, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission issues a letter telling a particular population of the country that take part only in presidential election and not in parliamentary election. Mindful of the fact that the matter is before court, and I respect matters in relation to Order 93 of our standing orders, I will not go further. But whether it was done for the political convenience of our time, time will tell. But what time cannot change is that some Ghanaians were denied the right to have representation in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, amending, and again, is for those ministers of security. The new patriotic party government can be very interesting. Act 766 was passed in 2008. In the run-up to the election, police officers and fire officers were deceived that there were salary increases. When the Minister for Interior appeared before our House, he said, oh, it was 1 month, one-off allowance, not salary. Whether you deceive the police officers or not, they have their pay slips. They have their pay slips and fire service. And whether you have kept faith with them or you are doing it for the political convenience of December, time will tell. I mean, they were smart in talking about CAP 30. CAP 30 within Act 766. Where are we? Where are we? And the Honourable Minister for Education, you are managing pension. Recipe for confusion. What you need is a pension unification scheme for all the security agencies, not to run undercover for CAP 30 because it was politically convenient to declaring so. So probably we will see how they proceed on it. Mr. Speaker, I should be concluding. Dr. Ebichum going to Ministry of Education will measure you with Free Senior High School. Is that there was some outstanding matter, and Mr. Speaker, later on we will delve into it about acquisition of mass sets. We didn't find the answers to it very satisfactory. Ignatius Bakwa Iwa, he knows that the serene industrial harmony and peace is enjoying. The foundations were laid by the NDC. He knows. Even I referred to you to a World Bank report in 2015. Codified conditions of service. Minister for Health wanted to take credit. But we have progressed, Mr. Speaker. They have continued with it. He is very, very dutiful with his job. Maternity leave for women. Maternity leave for working mothers. You have to ratify and domesticate the ILO Convention on Maternity in order that nursing mothers can be happier with you, and then lift the ban on those matters relating to exportation of labor to other countries by registered companies. Now, Speaker, it was critical of us when we got to Honorable Ajwa Sapo, and some even wrote that every nominee must spend equal number of time. I say to the public that every portfolio comes with its weight of institutions, and every portfolio comes with the weight of the person going to that ministry. She gave me an assurance that she stands against LGBT something. It was heartwarming because at least I know where she stands. There are those who still fumble and those who struggle as if they were not Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, let me now conclude. Honorable Howard Kumsa, and I just make a comment. To shoot is not ministerial. To shoot is not honorable. She was human when she apologized to our committee, but went further to say that the police were investigating the matter. The investigation is inconclusive. Whether she has been charged or not. She says she's not been charged. So to the Minister for Interior to be, how serious is our police service? You find a member of parliament shooting, and then it takes time. Charge statement, caution statement, not available. So, Mr. Speaker, this is what I have to say. But to say that we have a duty to support government, to constitute government in accordance with law. I have perused the Constitution. I have perused Article 94 of the Constitution. I've seen members relate to other situations. The individuals involved are not the same. The matters are not the same. We will subject nominees, as we do per our chairman, to the litmus test of the Constitution and whether there is any proven criminal record in a matter of moral turpitude. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I support the motion. I thank you.
Honorable members, the minority leader has used 21 minutes. The same will be extended to the majority leader. The rest of the members will be given 10 minutes each. We have listened to the majority leader. The list I have authority side, the person to lead and have the first bite is Honorable Atachia. So, Honorable Member, you may make your submissions.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honorable Member, just a minute.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, out of respect for your ruling and directive to the Appointments Committee, when they sat as a committee, advised that they should not sit, just 30 people in the chamber, should not sit for more than 2 hours without a break, due to the exigencies of the time, COVID-19. At this point in time, we've been sitting in the chamber for 2 hours, 25 minutes, without a break, as a full house. And so I just want to draw the Speaker's attention to his direction on COVID-19 and the protocols. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member, I thank you so much for the reminder. I will also observe that many of you have not been on your seats for more than 2 hours. But some members, yes, because I've been very observant. I know some members have been on their seats for more than even 3 hours, but not the majority. I have been glued here, and so I myself is affected, and I will be taking some few minutes to take fresh air and then allow my second deputy speaker to take over the chair. But let's listen to Honorable Atachia.
Thank you,
Honorable second deputy speaker to take the chair.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to motion number 7 on today's order paper. To wait that this Honourable House adopts the first report of the Appointment Committee on the President's nominations for ministerial appointment. Right Honourable Speaker, there has been a lot of conversation about the collaboration between the executive and Parliament, and even more so when it is being said that we have a tie. But when you pay due regard to the Constitution, that collaboration has been spelled out already. And I want to refer the House to Article 78(1) of the Constitution. With the kind permission of Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote: Ministers of State shall be appointed by the President with the prior approval of Parliament from among members of Parliament or persons qualified to be elected as members of Parliament, except that the majority of members of State shall be appointed from among members of Parliament. So clearly, Mr. Speaker, the President appoints with our approval. That's collaboration. You can see the two arms of government working together to constitute, the government. And it is very, very important. We are not at each other's throat. We are not at loggerheads. It is very important that this constitutional assignment, we should understand it, that the President will appoint, secures the prior approval, and then the ministers who assist him in policy will be in place. Right now, Mr. Speaker, I have always been wondering what is the Foundational Appointment Committee. I have always been wondering that if we are not careful, we overlook the foundational assignment of the Appointment Committee and delve into issues which may be sentimental, or even, if you like, a fight. But what is very important for the consideration of the Appointment Committee, with the greatest of respect, and with due deference to that very important committee, is what's been spelled out in Article 94. I call it, they should interrogate the technical knockout position in which somebody is disqualified from becoming a minister. Because the standard of the minister is the same as a member of Parliament. And therefore, Article 70 becomes very important. So therefore, there should be a proper interrogation even about the age. And when you look at the report here, these are not the issues. Tax liabilities. Does he owe any other government? Has he been charged otherwise or declared bankrupt under any law? Is an individual of unsound mind. And mercifully, if you look at the entire report, there's nobody who is.
So you're watching debates, or Parliament debates, the first report of the Appointments Committee on the ministerial nominees. President Akufo-Addo's ministerial nominees. We're ending Joy News Prime at this point to bring you PM Express with Aisha Ibrahim, but we will be monitoring or keeping an eye on development going on in the chamber, and we will update you as and when. My name is Suzulan. Thank you very much for watching.